Ryan Reynolds is used to being the guy who jokes his way out of trouble. But this time, the punchline might have gone too far, and Hollywood's starting to whisper. It started like any other rumor, a single spark on social media, but within hours it was everywhere. Reports claimed that tension had broken out on the set of Avengers. Doomsday, the kind of tension that doesn't stay behind studio doors. At the center of it all, Ryan Reynolds, the quick-witted anti-hero turned multi-million-dollar brand. And, unexpectedly, Robert Downey Jr. Whispers began with reshoots, scheduling conflicts, and jokes that didn't land. But then the story twisted. Allegedly, words were exchanged, personal ones, about Robert's wife, Susan Downey. And if that weren't messy enough, Robert's supposed response? A jab at Blake Lively. To some, it sounded like classic on-set gossip. To others, it was the start of a Hollywood Cold War between two of Marvel's biggest stars. Online, the theories multiplied. Fans connected invisible dots, tracing every interview, every behind-the-scenes photo, every moment when a smile looked just a little too forced. The question wasn't whether they argued, it was how bad it got. And while Ryan stayed silent, the noise around him only grew louder. What made the story explode wasn't just the alleged fight, it was who believed it. Anonymous insiders whispered about tension on set. A few gossip blogs hinted that a creative disagreement had turned personal. Then someone claimed Ryan had made a joke that crossed the line. It was enough fuel to set the internet ablaze. For fans, the idea of Deadpool and Iron Man clashing wasn't just irresistible, it was poetic. Two of the biggest egos in superhero cinema, both legends in their own right, supposedly squaring off in real life. Hashtags began to trend before anyone even checked the facts. And just when the speculation peaked, a new thread appeared. One that tied it all back to something much bigger. Because, according to several posts, this wasn't about movie schedules or improv gone wrong. It was about respect, about loyalty, about old wounds that had never really healed. Robert, they said, had always been close with Scarlett Johansson, Ryan's ex-wife. And if you've followed Hollywood long enough, you know how thin that line between close friend and resentment by association can get. Fans dredged up old interviews, body language breakdowns, even side-by-side red carpet clips. Suddenly, the supposed feud had history, emotional context. But as fast as it caught fire, the machine started to push back. Reputable outlets called the claims completely fabricated. A source told People magazine there was zero bad blood between the two actors, adding that they had never even met in person. TMZ followed with their own exclusive. Yes, Ryan and Robert knew of each other, but they'd never shared a set, never even been in the same room. During the pandemic, they'd traded jokes on a charity Zoom for a celebrity fantasy football league. Hardly the setting for a meltdown. That's when everything started to feel off. Because if they've never met, how did this rumor even start? Who wanted people to believe there was a fight in the first place? Every time someone tried to shut it down, the story just mutated, sharper, louder, more cinematic than before. The rumor mill might have been wild, but what truly fueled it was something older, a quiet storm that had already been brewing in Ryan Reynolds' world long before Avengers. Doomsday was even announced. At the heart of it all sat a lawsuit, the kind of Hollywood legal tangle that turns private frustration into public spectacle. The It Ends With Us controversy. Blake Lively, Ryan's wife and co-star, had become entangled in a bitter behind-the-scenes feud with the film's director, Justin Baldoni. And according to the complaint filed earlier this year, Ryan himself wasn't just a bystander. He was right there in the room, defending his wife, maybe a little too forcefully. Court documents described it as an aggressive confrontation. During a meeting at the couple's New York penthouse, Ryan allegedly berated Baldoni after hearing he had made comments about Blake's weight during production. The account claims that Ryan accused him of fat-shaming, raising his voice in front of others until the conversation turned into a full-blown verbal clash. Baldoni's team said it was all a misunderstanding. that he had asked Blake's trainer about her weight to safely plan a lift scene, not to insult her. But to Ryan, it was personal. And from that moment on, the set never fully recovered. Blake reportedly refused to shoot the lift scene, threatening to walk if her conditions weren't met. To outsiders, it might have looked like a couple standing up for each other. But inside the industry, it raised eyebrows. Was Ryan protecting his wife or controlling the narrative? By the time the lawsuit surfaced, public opinion had already shifted. Blake and Ryan, once the internet's favorite couple, were now the center of endless threads dissecting every word, every smile, every red carpet glance. So when whispers of another confrontation surfaced, this time involving Robert Downey Jr., people didn't hesitate. It fit too neatly, too conveniently, like déjà vu from a different set. Hollywood might have called it coincidence. The internet called it a pattern. Then came the silence, not from the press, not from the studios, from Ryan himself. Fans who had been watching the fallout unfold suddenly noticed something strange. Ryan's Instagram feed, once a highlight reel of his life with Blake, looked different. Older posts, the cheeky birthday tributes, the candid selfies, the jokes that defined their perfect couple image, had quietly disappeared. At first, it looked like a glitch, but when users compared archived screenshots, the missing posts were obvious. Dozens of them. And that's when the whispers turned into a storm. Why delete those memories now? Why go quiet right when every headline already has your name in it? It didn't help that Blake's birthday came and went with no public mention from Ryan. For years, their playful posts had been a tradition. Fans waited for them like clockwork. But this time, nothing. Just radio silence. Comment sections filled with questions, then theories. Some believed it was damage control, a way to keep their private life out of the chaos of lawsuits and rumors. Others thought it was something darker, a quiet signal that the golden couple was cracking under the weight of too much attention. Then, just as speculation peaked, Ryan posted again. A photo dump, casual, unassuming, but buried among the snapshots was a single image of Blake. No caption, no explanation. Just enough to stop the wildfire from spreading further. To some, it was a peace offering. To others, it looked like strategy, the kind of carefully placed post designed to reset a narrative, not share a feeling. Either way, the internet wasn't convinced. Because once you've deleted history, people start to wonder what you're trying to hide. The couple who once joked their way through gossip had gone quiet. And in Hollywood, silence always sounds like a confession. For nearly a decade, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively had been Hollywood's favorite success story, the couple that seemed untouchable. They joked together, worked together, raised a family together, and somehow made celebrity marriage look easy. But this time, that glossy image couldn't survive the noise. When the Baldoni lawsuit went public, the internet started doing what it always does, digging. Clips of old interviews were repurposed as evidence of toxicity. Sarcastic tweets were reframed as red flags, and suddenly the internet's once-beloved prankster was being recast as something colder. Even fellow actors began to pull back. A few anonymous quotes appeared in trade magazines about creative tension and ego clashes. Casting rumors for future Marvel projects stalled. One insider described Ryan as focused, but harder to work with lately. The public's affection turned cautious. Comment sections that used to overflow with heart emojis now read like open-ended debates. Did fame finally get to them? Was Blake manipulating him behind the scenes? Had Ryan's humor turned into hostility? Meanwhile, Blake's own reputation was unraveling. The same woman once praised for her effortless style and warmth was now being called demanding, even manipulative. Former colleagues whispered that she liked control, that she wanted to run the show. Whether any of it was true didn't matter. The narrative had momentum. The shift was quiet but devastating. Award shows that used to guarantee them prime camera time barely cut to their table. Brand partnerships slowed. Even gossip outlets that had once fawned over them began using words like icy, strained, and unraveling. It wasn't just that people believed the rumors, it was that they wanted to. After years of watching the couple appear flawless, the world was ready for a crack in the facade. And right on cue, that crack turned into a spotlight. If the industry tension painted Ryan and Blake as complicated, the friendship drama made them look radioactive. Because when Blake Lively's name surfaced in the lawsuit, so did another, Taylor Swift. For years, their friendship had been one of the most visible in pop culture. Holidays together, cameos in music videos, even their daughters' names woven into Taylor's lyrics. They were seen as sisters in the spotlight, both fiercely loyal, both immune to Hollywood's shifting alliances. But when the legal papers dropped, that narrative started to fracture. Reports suggested that Blake had used her big-name friends to influence decisions on It Ends With Us, and that Taylor's name was included in the complaint, not as an accomplice, but as collateral. When word spread that Taylor had been subpoenaed, fans immediately sensed trouble. What made it worse was the silence that followed. Taylor's engagement to Travis Kelce became one of the biggest pop culture moments of the year, and nearly every celebrity friend posted glowing congratulations. Everyone except Blake. The absence was deafening. Commenters flooded Blake's posts with speculation. Had they fallen out? Was Taylor distancing herself from the chaos? Even Swifties, normally protective of their idol circle, began connecting dots that no one could fully erase. Then came the deeper cut. On Taylor's upcoming album, a tracklist leaked, and one song title stood out, Ruin the Friendship. Another, simply called Cancelled. Fans didn't need confirmation. They'd already written the story for her. And when Taylor spoke on a podcast shortly after, saying that sometimes her name appeared in headlines that had nothing to do with her, listeners took it as a quiet message aimed straight at Blake. She didn't need to name names. The tone said enough. Suddenly, the internet's favorite friendship had turned into another casualty of the Lively Reynolds storm, a symbol of how fast loyalty dissolves when fame and scandal collide. In a single year, they'd lost more than public favor. They'd lost their image, their alliances, and perhaps each other. By the time the headlines finally started to fade, something strange happened. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds didn't retreat. They rebuilt, quietly, methodically, and with the precision of people who knew the world was still watching. Blake's first move came in the form of a new announcement, a lead role in a thriller titled The Survival List, produced by the legendary Mark Platt, the same producer behind Wicked. She would not only star in the film, but also serve as one of its producers. The message was clear. She wasn't going anywhere. But if the intention was to move past the drama, the reaction said otherwise. Online, people didn't see a comeback. They saw defiance. Comment threads filled with skepticism. Brave casting choice, one user wrote. Didn't she just take over another set? The implication was hard to miss. Hollywood might forgive, but the internet never forgets. Meanwhile, Ryan went the opposite route. No statements, no interviews, no jokes, just silence, the same kind that once fueled rumors, now weaponized as control. He returned to promoting his businesses, dropping small updates about Deadpool and Wolverine, but nothing beyond that. Not a word about the lawsuits, not a hint about the marriage whispers. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the Reynolds Lively strategy isn't to fight the narrative, but to outlast it. The irony is it might actually be working. Their public image, though bruised, hasn't collapsed. Brands still call. Directors still cast. And fans, even the skeptical ones, keep watching, waiting for the next headline, the next signal, the next move. Because in Hollywood, survival isn't about truth. It's about momentum. And somehow, despite the lawsuits, the feuds, and the friendships left in ruins, Ryan and Blake are still standing. Not untouched, but unbroken. For now, anyway. In the end, it's almost poetic. The man who built a career on breaking the fourth wall now trapped inside one of his own. Reynolds, once the symbol of effortless charm and transparency, now stands behind a glass wall of speculation. Every silence becomes a statement. Every gesture feels staged. And Blake Lively, once the picture of golden era Hollywood grace, now walks a tighter rope than ever. She's still smiling for cameras, still showing up at industry events, still proving she can command a set, but the glow looks different. It's not soft anymore. It's sharp, deliberate, a kind of armor polished by controversy. Together, they've become something new, not just a couple, but a case study in image management. Every move calculated, every word filtered through the lens of survival. They don't respond to rumors because they don't have to. The silence is the performance. But beneath all the strategy, there's something undeniably human about it. The exhaustion of constant visibility, the pressure of perfection, the fear that one bad headline can rewrite an entire legacy. Maybe that's why people can't look away. Because beneath the red carpet smiles and curated feeds, Ryan and Blake represent something painfully familiar: the cost of being loved by millions and understood by none. Whether the fight on set ever happened, whether the lawsuits end quietly or drag on for years, the truth is almost irrelevant now. In the court of public opinion, perception has already rendered its verdict. Still, one thing remains constant: they endure. And in a world that feeds on chaos, endurance might be the closest thing to innocence they have left. The story isn't over. It's just waiting for its next chapter.